The hardest thing to question in life is not the world around us. It is the version of ourselves we spent years becoming. Because after a while, an identity stops feeling like a story. It starts feeling like the truth. And that is what makes Karn so fascinating. His life is often discussed through the lens of destiny, the circumstance of his birth, the truths that were revealed to him much later, the status he was given. But perhaps destiny explains only where a story begins. The rest unfolds through the choices we make from the identities we carry. Karna was one of the greatest warriors of his time, respected by some, questioned by many. Yet throughout his life, there seems to be a recurring theme, a need to affirm who he was. And over time, that identity became more than a response to circumstances. It became a lens through which he viewed the world. That is what makes the identity so powerful. It does not merely shape how we see ourselves. It begins shaping what we notice, what we value, who we stand beside, and the choices we make when life places us at a crossroad. Because once an identity becomes unquestionable, it quietly begins making choices on our behalf. Maybe this is why Karn remains such a complex figure, because he reflects something deeply human, the tendency to become attached to a particular story about ourselves and then spend years reinforcing it. Even when life presents opportunities to see differently. But this is just one way of looking at Karn's journey. Not simply as a story of identity, not merely a story of consequence, but as a reminder that the identities we carry can become forces in our lives, powerful enough to influence our choices, shape our relationships, and determine paths we continue walking long after we've forgotten why we started. Some of us are still living through identities we formed years ago. The one who must prove themselves. The one who must never fail. The one who always has to be strong. The one who cannot let go. Life changes, circumstances change, yet the story remains. And slowly, we stop carrying the identity. The identity begins carrying us. Self-awareness begins when we pause long enough to ask, which story about myself have I stopped questioning? Because freedom may not always come from becoming someone new. Sometimes it begins by loosening your grip on who we believe we already are. Reflect upon these questions to understand yourself a little better. What identity have you carried for so long that it now feels unquestionable? Are your choices coming from awareness or from a story you formed years ago? If you stopped proving who you are, what part of you would still remain? Alright then, this is me, Bhavna, signing off, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, allow the Karn within you to question not who you are, but the story you have been using to define yourself.